Hello, my friend. My name is Anton from Coding.com, and today we start the second season of our Code Express series. Code Express, if you haven't followed us before, is the online Python training for the network engineers and IT engineers in general who is interested in the networking and automation altogether. And in today's session, we start speaking about more advanced concept compared to what we have covered before. If you are interested in what we have did, take a look on our YouTube channel or our blog. There you will see all the most simplistic Python operation. So today we'll start speaking about the files. Why? Because files are everywhere. And we'll learn today how you could open the file to read the content, or how to put the content into the file, meaning to create your file and write some data there. Why is it so important? From my experience working as a network engineer or IT engineer in the various companies across the whole Europe, I was very, let's say, surprised how much the so-called spreadsheet engineering is still popular. There are a lot of spreadsheets with various data, for instance, for base stations in the mobile service providers, where we have name of the base station, IP address, VLAN, associated port on the router, and so on and so forth. Same is applicable for the data center, where you could find the list of the servers with associated IP addresses, speeds, and so on, which is used to either inventory purposes for the tracking or as a connectivity matrix. And these files are quite often taken by their installers, and then based on this file, they do the necessary cabling. But they're only used not only for by installers, they're also used by the network engineers, because a lot of companies still have a very legacy automation, not any sort of automation at all. Hence, they have to use various spreadsheets with the data, and then spreadsheets with the paper template, creating the configuration to the network elements. So what we'll do today, we'll take a look how we could open one of the most popular and automatable spreadsheet format, which is CSV, comma separated value, and read this data, convert it into a Python data structures which we can use in our script. If we could use in our script, it means whatever workflow we are building further, it may be used. So let me share my screen and we will crack on. One of the advantages or new things in our new network Code Express series is that instead of using CLI, we are using VS Code. VS Code or Visual Studio Code is one of the most popular tools these days for the developers. If you haven't worked with it so far, you could find a very easy and comfortable work with. If you want to learn more about it, come to our network automation training. It's part of our program to learn you how to install, how to work, what plugins are useful, what are not, and you will be a master with it. So let's get back to our code. We have already created the structures. You might have seen this is a clone of our GitHub repo with all the sessions. So from 0, 1 to 10, those are lessons from our first series, first 10 block. Then starting from today, we're starting the 11th one. And again, we will run the series out of 10 more Python classes to teach you the basics. So we start today. We have created some CSV file. As you see, it could be used anywhere. It has some certain fields like ID, name of the device that we have to connect it, interface, which device is connected to the network, speed of the interface, whether we have any encapsulation, and if yes, then what are the VLAN associated with this interface, as well as IPv4 and IPv6 addresses. So our goal is to read this file into the Python and to parse it into the Python data structures mix of the list and dictionaries. If you're interested in the list and the dictionaries, take a look into the sessions 4 and 6 from the Code Express blog series correspondingly. So in order to read the file, we need to provide the path to the file. So that's why we start with the creation of, let me close it because we don't need it anymore, with the variables. And in the variables, we would have the variables called path to file. As you remember, it's a format of the naming convention of the Python variables. We create a string value which would have the pass to this file. So data, some data dot CSV. Well, that's done. Now we could start working on the file itself. So in the same file, we will have both operation: reading from the file and parsing it, and writing file back. That's why we add some more comments like reading and parsing. So to open the file, one of the most popular and convenient ways to do is to use so-called context manager. The context manager constructed is with as keywords. With, and then we provide the operation that we are going to do. Basically, the operation is related to opening something. In our case, we are opening the file the same way as when we will working later, or what we covered in our network automation training. The same context manager is using to establish network session using SSH or using the netconf or using the gRPC. So basically, it's quite popular construction generally. So we're using the function open. The function open has a two positional argument. The first argument, the pass to file we provided, is a pass exactly to the file. So basically, it tells which file we need to open. And the second positional argument is mode. So we tell how we would like to open this file, whether we would like to read the data, whether we would like to write the data, meaning rewriting the content, or whether we would like just to append something. Afterwards, we provide the name of the variable, how this file will be called. So file is a sort of object. Specific set of the variable we will cover later on in our training what object is. For now, you could think about it just specific variable. It has some specific function. In our case, the function that we need is we create, so we have opened the file, but we have not read the content. So that's why the second operation would be to create a new variable. Let's call it file content. And using the read function applied to this file, we will get the content. So that's why the operation is all the time two-step, whether we do the writing or the reading. The first is open the file, and second, either read the content of the file or write content to the file. Let's take a look that we are indeed getting this content. So we'll print this variable. So file content. Okay, so another cool thing about the VS Code, we could go directly to the CLI without necessity to jump between the window, how we was doing it previously. So we go to the 11 folder where we have our F read, however this file will be joined read and write, and CSV, and we try to execute our so Python 3.8 F read. Boom, we get in the CLI output of our CSV file. So meaning the file is properly opened, the content is read, content right now is so-called multi-line string. We have already worked with a string in the previous session, so nothing new for you should be here. So once we have opened the file, we have this multi-line string, and what we need to do, we need to parse it into a set of the, by the set, into the list where each element is a container or the dictionary having the necessary keys and values. So what should be key, what should be values? If you analyze the structure of any table or spreadsheet, this as well, we have all with the time as a column and top, which is our key, the name, how the field is called, and then starting from the second line, each entry is a set of the values for a certain element. So line number 2 and 3 contains only values. Hence, we need to create a structure where each our dictionary element would have a key out of the first line and the value out of the second, third, and so on, how many lines will you have. So to read this, we start working with a function that we have already learned previously, namely split, to split the line based on certain separator into a list, and functions which we're having to work with lists and dictionaries altogether. So we start with a set that we would like to create a data line, so it will be the first split of our multi-line string into an array containing each element one single line. So we do it by applying the command split to our multi-line string file content split, and as a separator we provide the new line character, so /n. It will assure that we would have the separator at the end of each line of the multi-line string. Let's take a look whether that is accurate. So print data lines now. If we execute our script, you see right now we have a list with 3 elements. Element 0 contains the necessary keys, and element 1 and 2 contains the necessary values. So, which is good. So the next step would be for us then to take the first element out of the array, because that is where our keys are, and store it into a separate element. So we could also, or we should also not only take this construction, we then need to split it into a new array where each name of the, each value of the element would be our key in new dictionary. So we do this by the following operation. So we'd like to create the headers, or header key, we could create it directly. So what we do first, we take a data lines, and using the pop operation, which allows us, as we have learned previously, to take the certain element, identifying it by index, remove it from the original array, and copy its content to a new variable. So basically, data lines pop, and if I provide here 0, will make sure that I take the first element of my list existing in these data lines, remove it from the original list, and have this context like in my memory for these variables. And what I need to do next, I need to apply the split function again, but this time with a comma separator to get a list of the keys. So that's why after the pop function, I apply the split function with the comma variable. Now let's take a look whether that is working accurate right now. So print keys, executing, boom, we are getting exactly what we need. You see right now we have a list. We have 2 lists basically right now. We have list data lines, which contains right now only data, and we have a keys, and we have a key, a list called header keys, which contains the name of the keys which we like to have in our data structure, which should be the name of the keys within each element within our finalizing list. So we are ready to start creating the resultant data structure, and we call it in such a way result data. So result data would be for us a list. So now once we have the result data, what we can do, we can start parsing the rest of our original list. How we are doing this? Using the format of the loop control mechanism for loop. We are using for, and then we start introducing something new, which we haven't done previously. So as you remember, for in, we create the loop. We could create it for the list, we could create it for the dictionaries, applying the items function to create iteration of each element in our list. However, we don't have possibility to track by default. We don't have possibility to track the iteration, and we need to track the iteration right now because we need to like align each element to each key. We have all the keys in the proper sequence parsed, so we need to make sure right now we will be able to take the first element, let's say out of the second string, after it's split it into the commas, and apply it to the key, or as a value to the key from the same position in our original list. So what we are doing right now, we start first of all the loop across the rest of our elements, what we have in our CSV file. So we start for data line in data lines, nothing new here. And what would be new here, then we would create a temporary container or type into a dictionary, we so called the temp dict, which we will be filling in with the data step by step. So how we do it? So create a new loop for, and this time we add a specific function which is called enumerate, which will allow us take the list or dictionary as an input, something called iteratable as an input, and with this input we would also provide the result of the function index of the element and its value. It's exactly what we need. So you create a val in, which would stands for index, and val, let's say, or we could create something more logical, like entry index and entry value. In what is the name of the function, enumerate, and the input for the function we provide iteratable. So we provide the data line, so our temporary variable, because this is a string split using the same separator, comma separator, as we was using previously. So basically we are doing the same logic, but for each and every string that we still left in our CSV file, basically where we have the data. So, and once we have split the data, we would have the index of each and every element, so index 0, 1, 2, and up to latest element in our list, which we will use to call the key out of the headers, and we have the value which is associated right now with the index. So what we will do right now, then we will add a temp dictionary. This is a dictionary. We use a function update, add content to it, and at the content we add the name of the key, how we call it. We call header keys, and we provide the entry index here. So basically for each, like for element 0, we take 0 index and we call 0 k with index 0 of the original key. And the value would be the entry value which we are getting as a result of this function itself. But that would make sure that for each line, it will be taking the original headers at the key and creating a dictionary for us, which we will be using. Then for the next line, next entry in our CSV file, we are repeating the operation. And as a result, we have the temp dictionary. So for each line we have created it, and using the append function, we add this data to our original list. So parsing is done. Let's take a look whether it is working exactly like we supposed it to work. And it's telling us we have some issue here, right? I have a bit broken the syntax, and VS Code tell me for it. I need to close it not here, but a bit later after my value. Now it should be more accurate. And it is. So, and now you see the result of our function work. We have a list. Each list has the dictionary as an element. Then in dictionary, we have a key value pair where the key are the name of the columns on our CSV file, and the values are like the value out of the row starting from the second one. So we have the same entry for the first entry, the similar line for the first and for the second entry. So CSV file is parsed and it's already good. So you could already say, cool, now I could take any spreadsheet data, convert it to CSV, parse it with the Python, and put in my automation workflow. This is indeed good. It's not enough for us. We as a Code Express masters, we at the Zeus who was going for the Python would like to go more. And in this case, by going more, I mean, we also convert this data back into CSV file and store. So why it's necessary? If you're working with some data processing and you would like to provide the output in the known format for other engineers, you would need to generate the same CSV file. You could do it manually, obviously, but if we're speaking about automation, why shall we do anything manually? Let's automate this part as well. So the second part of our script would be to For this, create spreadsheet and write. So what we'll be doing in this step right now, basically we'll be creating the BEX operation. All the functions, again, we have learned previously, if we was using split, now to merge or to glue the data together, we need to use a function called join, which will allow us to reconstruct the strings, and we will have to rely on the same for loops, if conditions, and generic string to be able to take the proper indexes and to reconstruct the data. So let's start with this. I'll create some, perhaps not telling you anything properly, the list called T0 that will contain the complete lines in our file. So, and then I start the loop for across this result data, so our data structure, internal Python structure, which we are using to work with our application. So what we do for we do it is okay. So entry in line entry in result data. So let me think about this. Whether I need to have the enumerate here, I think I might need to have this. So I would add also line index. And we create here as enumerate result data. So this part is complete then. What we are doing next, we're creating two more lists. So the first one would contain the headers, and it will be created only once. And the second one will be containing the actual values of our elements. So to do that, we go to the next level of our loop. So we create for item key, item value in. So now we like inside our elements, so result data, or line entry is a dictionary for us right now. So that's why in order to iterate across the dictionary, we create the line entry. We take this value of the dictionary and we apply the function items, which split it into the tuples. So we are iterating then the list of the tuples basically, and the tuple is decomposed into item key and item value. So now what we are doing, we are appending our original lists T1 and T2 with the data coming from each element. So for first string, for first iteration in general in our list, we need to create the first line with the headers, so to construct it. So that's why we are telling if our line index equals to 0, so basically we are doing the first iteration. Then we take the keys and add it to our T1 list. So using the append function, we add item key. So for all others operations, it doesn't matter if it is a 0 on the first or second or whatever, we would be adding just the value. So that's why we are doing the T2 append and then item value. So this would mean we'll be taking the data associated with the keys and adding to the second list. So this is something that we are going to do. Now, this we would have for each and every element. Now, the next step, what we need to do, we need to add this data to our original T0, like to aggregate all the lines. Now, T1 and T2 still are lists, they are not the strings, and we need to convert them to the strings. So we need to merge all two elements. So we do it by applying the join function to them. So that's why what we are doing for the first string and then for second and any others, if T1, so we are checking because the key T1 will be existing only for the first iteration. We say the T0 append, so we would add in the content of the T1 to the T0, but we are using the comma delimiter to join the elements. So we're applying the join function, and then the input to join function, we take the created T1 dictionary. So basically, what does it mean? We take T1 dictionary and join all the elements using the comma. So we're creating a string, and this string, not multiple elements, we're adding to the 0. The same operation we will be doing for any other element that we have. So basically, I would like to copy this string completely. And now, using T2, I would append it. So let's take a look what we're having right now at this stage in our script. So print T0. Now you see I'm start getting back to the origin. Let's say this way, I have a list with 3 elements. Each element is a string. The first contains the headers, second contains data, the third contains data. The last step, what I need to do, I need to write this file, and again, so I need to convert it into a single multi-line string and write the file. How do I do this? Using the same context manager with and function open, I would provide the certain file name, let's say new file.csv, just to make sure I'm not writing in my original file, and I open it with the right function. So, meaning all the content, if there's any, will be rewritten, or if the file does not exist, it will be created. And I could open it with the same function name, the variable name could be different, whatever I prefer. And the last operation that I'm doing, I am writing it like applying the right function to this file. Previously we're doing a read operation, now we're doing the write. Read is working when the file is open for read only. Write is working when the file is open for writable operation. And the content in the as an argument for the write function, we need to provide the content of the file. So we're doing the same or the similar operation that we were doing previously, but better. So we was doing split and taking the delimiter as a new line character. Now I take the new line character as an aggregator, let's say in this way, join, and the input of our T0 element. So that's why when I'm saying we're doing explicitly exactly opposite thing, we are splitting using the first of all new line character and then comma, and then we're aggregating them backwards. We're aggregating first of all lines using the comma, and then on the last layer of aggregation using the new line character. And basically that's it. Our script is done. If I execute right now, we don't see anything in the CLI because obviously we are not typing anything in CLI. However, when I open the list of the files back, you will see that I have a new file created. And if I open it, it contains the same data, let me say it, as we have in the original same data. So this is how the things are working, and we can start right now using the script whenever we need to have it. So thank you very much for your attention. I hope you like this video. If you like this video, subscribe to our channel, please like, share with your social media. If you want to learn more about the Python and other automation techniques in the context of the automation, come to our network automation training, either online version, where you could start even today, self-paced, or in September, we are starting the new life. Thank you very much and stay tuned. See you later. Goodbye, my friend.